stream the meeting. And then what, if it live streams it, it's going to be recorded?
Sorry, I had to click something before I could unmute. Um, yeah, it'll be live streamed and it's gonna record on your computer because you clicked record on my computer. So it should record when it's over to your computer and it should go up to YouTube. Do you have a link to that YouTube? I can check it.
Yeah.
And I see it on my end saying YouTube. Does everybody see that on the left-hand corner?
I know, but look to just see if it's going what it looks like on the YouTube.
Nubia, do you see it?
Not sure. Maybe because I'm on my phone.
Okay. The reason I'm telling you, Chuck,
On
is
your
I just see that it's
because that's what happened last time, Chuck, where I could see it, but other people couldn't.
Oh no, it shows he's live. Hold on, I think I got it.
Well, let's see. The meeting is being live streamed. Okay. Live and recording. So it's live and recording and streaming to YouTube.
Okay, so look, if there's people that come in, you must tell them that it's being streamed because, again, last time some people did not see that, and then they want to be edited out possibly. We don't want to have that ordeal. So just let them know that it's being streamed as they come in, if anybody does.
Yep, and I've also made these spotlights. So if somebody does want to be on or whatever, just add them as a spotlight. And then that way anybody else can just be hanging in the background.
Okay, so I learned something. I did not know that. Okay.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Monique.
Thank you.
So I think we're good to go. I've got YouTube is going, Zoom's going, the meeting is going, so we're good to go. And we're recording.
Oh,
And
excellent.
we're talking today about, go ahead.
Oh, just as a quick update, I just emailed it out again, and I'm gonna go share the YouTube on some of the groups.
Thank you. All right, Ron, you can go ahead. Ron.
Yeah, we are here talking today about how to, as talent and a member of the Screen Actors Guild and even non-union, how to protect ourselves from the misuse of our image and even our name with AI and having our image used outside of the productions that we're signing contracts for. Lisa K, you just joined. Hi, Lisa. We are recording this just to let you know. So if you're okay with that, great. If not, we are recording this. And if you don't want to be on screen or have your audio recorded, just listen and don't say anything, I guess, or you can leave the meeting. But we are recording. And we're streaming live.
Technically, Ronald, she can just type in the chat because the chat doesn't get recorded. So if she has a question or something and wants to be anonymous, she can just write all that in the chat that she wants to be anonymous, and then that way you don't say her name or whatever.
Okay. So what we're talking about is how we can put all of our private property and our image and our biometrics on the record as our property so that any future use of our identity or property or likeness is prohibited without our consent. So for instance, if you were to go and, sign a contract with a movie for, let's say, Paramount or any studio, Warner Brothers, you'd go in and sign a contract and they're going to use your image in that specific production. You have to read your contracts carefully, but then they might start using, with the advent of AI, if your image is taken and then used on, with AI on other productions and outside of the scope of that project or outside of its distribution areas or in other projects without your consent, then you will have recourse because you've protected your image, to only be used as you authorize it. And the way you can protect your image and your name and your property is to list them all in basically a trust. You can call it a trust. You can call it a security agreement or just a document that you'll give a serial number. And once you've given it a serial number, then and you can create the serial number yourself using your initials, maybe part of your social security number, your birth date, and you list that as the number of the document, and then create a power of attorney over that document, putting that serial number on the power of attorney, and then getting both those documents notarized. And then what you do is you take them and you file them with any county recorder in the United States. And after 30 days, on the record, unrebutted, it becomes law. And now you've created law for yourself, registered your trust and all of your property as yours that can't be used in any way without your written permission and or paying you a fee. And you can set the fee in your document, a fee schedule, so you could list your image for $2 or $3 or $5 or $10 million and your name attached to your social security number and birth certificate number that you would list in your security agreement. This all establishes that, that name tied to that ID is your property, and it's not supposed to be used without your consent or your fee being paid to you. And so that's the basics of it. It's pretty simple. You create a document, you notarize it, you file it on the record, it becomes law, and then you can take that into court with you if you sue a production company for misuse of your image and name. And I have put out the documents. I've got them on my computer and in my email to send to anybody who wants them. And I've also sent them to Chuck Slavin, and I've sent them to some other people. And so they're available to be distributed widely. And what we were talking about the last time we met was the possibility of getting all of the SAG locals to distribute the documents to all of their local talent so that at least they've got the documents and then they can fill them out and file them, as they wish, read through them, understand what they're saying and what the purpose is. And then, protecting ourselves widely, because last number I heard was there's 160,000 SAG members, active SAG members or SAG members in good standing. I don't know if that's the total number, but that's a lot of people and a lot of talent across the world. So we definitely would benefit. And I think it would make the news if thousands and thousands of SAG members started filing their image and name on the record as their property. And then we would be giving notice to SAG and the AMPTP that, hey, listen, you guys are trying to make a shift in the entertainment business and take control over our ability to protect ourselves by just giving us this blanket return to work agreement that not a lot of people are in agreement with. because of the AI issue. And so I think if we can get the documents out to the masses and then give the SAG and AMPTP attorneys notice, either directly or through the media, then that will make them a little less likely to put themselves in the position where they can have to face litigation for misuse of our property. So that's what really this is all about. Getting the word out to the masses, what they can do to protect themselves, giving them the basic understanding of how it works, which is pretty simple. Just list your property for a fee, notarize it, power of attorney it, file it, and then then we could all send a letter to SAG if we wanted to let them know, hey, listen, I have filed my property on the record, my image and property and my biometrics and my name attached to these, my social security number and birth certificate number, and now I'm protecting myself. And I just want to let you guys know that. Please forward this to Duncan Crabtree Ireland and the attorneys for the AMPTP, and it'll start showing that we're taking an offensive stance. We're going on the offense. We're taking the initiative. We're not just going to sit back and get swindled by the major production companies that it looks like are going to I think try and abuse us without our knowledge by using technology. So that's the basics of all of this. If anybody new has joined, just letting you know that we are recording this. And if you want to comment, you can comment in the chat section. You don't have to be on camera, and you don't have to speak if you don't want to. But does anybody have any questions?
I do.
All right. Nubia?
This is Monique. You keep getting us.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Monique.
That's okay. So you had given an example the last time you were speaking in December, where if you're given an agreement to say they will remain nameless, a background acting place, let's say that, then you all of a sudden whip out this paperwork and say, okay, this is my fee schedule. So what I wanted to ask you is, although it sounds like a great idea, this company, could get quite irate if they told you in the beginning what they needed from you, and now you're startled. So how do we go about that? Because I understand one thing. I understand if you tell them that up front, they'll probably say ixnay on hiring you. So go ahead.
Well, just like any job, so let's say your booking agent books you to do background on a show, one of the shows that are going on right now. And you're going to go and you're going to make your SAG minimum that day for 100 and what is it, 193 now or 187, something like that.
I don't know. I was knocked out of the market. I was
Say that again.
I was knocked out of the market because I didn't do the injection. I don't know what Chuck said.
What'd you say, Chuck?
I said in some markets it's 208 for 8, depending on the contract.
Okay. So you go in there with the understanding that you're going to work your 8 hours plus, whatever penalties you get to get on your check for that day, and you've agreed to that fee for that day, for that project, for the scope of that project, whatever it's going to be, however it's going to be distributed. Your TV show might be distributed in English-speaking countries in North America and maybe Australia and England. And, that's what you're agreeing to. Now, let's say that TV show is being produced by Warner Brothers. And then Warner Brothers likes your image. They take your image and they use it in another show. that you haven't agreed to, that you're not being paid for, that you know, you don't know anything about. You can go back to them and say, hey, here's the contract I signed for this project. I didn't give you permission. Here's my fee in my fee schedule for my document that shows that I've registered, that tells you how much you're going to have to pay for the use of my image. So pay me. I never signed on to that project. You only paid me for one day as background on this TV show, not that TV show, not that movie, not to be distributed outside of this specific project that I came in, signed in for, and got my voucher for. And so that's where it comes into play. Let's say you get, you know, so does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's say you're going, your agent gets you an audition for a feature film with you know, Netflix, and Netflix is financing and producing the movie, and you go and you audition and you book the role, and they're going to pay you $25,000 a day for 8 days, and you know, they cover all your expenses, and you got to travel and have your passport and whatever. Great. You sign on for $25,000 a day for 8 days. They provide transportation and lodging and your per diem and everything like that. And you shoot that, and your image is used for that. But now Netflix has your image, and if they try and use it again in a different production without your knowledge, then you can go back to them with your security agreement and say, hey, I didn't sign on for this. You're taking my image from this other project that I didn't consent to. Here, you owe me this amount based on my fee schedule right here in my security agreement that I made law with a year ago. You can see the filing number, so you owe me. And if they're like, no, we're not doing that, then you can take them to court and you have evidence, you know, that you're going to submit onto the record. Because when you go into court, you're not arguing facts. You're already putting the facts on the record of the case, and then going in there and presenting the facts, and then the judge determines based on the facts and the argument and you know, the statements made by the prosecutor and defendant, what the penalty is going to be and who's going to win the case. So that's, you know, that's basically it. I mean, you could, now let's say Netflix calls you in and they're like, here, we're offering you $25,000 a day for 8 days. We're paying for this, that, and the other thing. You can have points on the back end. You might counter offer and say, well, I would like $100,000 a day based on my fee schedule here in the security agreement. Now they have to come back with a counter offer to that. So you can conditionally accept their offer of $25,000 a day, or you can counter offer and say, you know, I feel like I'm more bankable than that. I was in this project, that project made this amount of money because I was on the poster, and they used my name, and here's my bankability that's been going up and up over the years. This movie made this much. This movie made this much. I want $100,000. And look in my security agreement. I'm giving you a discount. My likeness here is worth $5 million based on filing it on the record. And that's, you know, my fee. I made law. This is the law I've made. You could pay me that amount. And then, you know, then you go back and forth and counteroffer until you guys settle on an agreement. But those seem like those are the three basic scenarios that can occur in this whole situation with talent and their image being misused. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, but let's go back to where you accepted background job for 200 and something dollars. You cannot have them, you can't have them pay what you want on your fee schedule at that point. So what?
You could ask them, you could say, look, you know, we just come out of this strike. We know you guys are screwing us over with AI. I want to get along. I want to work. $208 is simply not enough for me to live on anyway. I want $1,000 for the first 8, or $600 for the first 8 hours. And I want a minimum of 3 days on this project. You know, every contract is negotiable. That's the thing. You have the right to negotiate any contract right now, anytime, without your security agreement. If your booking agent books you for a TV show or a movie that you're going to go do background on, you can ask your booking agent, hey, talk to the production company, see if you can get me $500 for the day. You know, but I do movie budgets, and I know for a fact that these TV shows and movies at the studio level have specific budgets, right down to the penny, right down to the dollar, for everyone and everything that they're going to spend it on. And they know that they need 75 extras for the day, and they're paying 50 SAG background, $208 for the first 8, and 25 non-union, whatever they're paying them, their rate. And then they've got their food budget and their production budget, and they're on schedule. They know how many pages and scenes they're shooting that day, what their locations are, how much time they have, when their meal penalties are going to be. So, you know, you can negotiate at any time, whether you've filed your biometrics and property on the record or not.
Okay, so the negotiation, I mean, the price listing, that's separately. You're not recording that. You're only recording your property belonging to you.
No,
With-
you are recording your fee schedule. You put in there, hey, if you know, it's explained in there, or you can list it in there if it's not. That in fact, I think in my security agreement, I had my property listed at, I don't know, $10 billion or whatever, as just a deterrent to keep people from ever using it. And if they do, they're in a financial trouble, because you know, I've done my due diligence and gone and filed it on the record and made law, and law is law. If you file something on the record with any county recorder, it becomes law throughout the United States, and there's reciprocation with all the states. Filing it in California is just as good as filing it in New York or Louisiana or Tennessee, or you know, any state in the United States. And you want to list your fee schedule in that document. That way, when you go to court, if you go to court, you can say, Your Honor, right here in my security agreement that filed under filing number 2017 ARN523, back in 2017, at the Arizona County, whatever, clerk of the courts. Right here's my filing number, and on page 18, if you'll see in this exhibit A, is my fee schedule, where it says use of my image without my permission is a penalty of $3 million, or however much you list on there. So you want to have a track record and make the evidence for yourself by filing it, so that you're protected.
Okay, last question, Ron, then somebody else has a turn, I believe. Okay, so the background example. Okay, you're listing your fees as $25,000, but you may agree to their $200 for the day. I know this might sound basic, but what do you do in order to make that agreement? Do you state as a one-time or as a courtesy, I am reducing the rate to your request, and otherwise, do you tell them about your biometrics and your price list, or do you just keep quiet about that? That's what I'm confused about.
I think it all comes down to the individual and what you're trying to accomplish with that negotiating tactic. I mean, if you're trying to prove a point as background in there, saying, I know I'm worth a lot more than this, but I'm going to work on your show with your horrible crafty and your mean production assistants, and I'm going to do it for $208 because I know you're not going to pay me $1,000 or $5,000 or what I think I'm worth. You could say all that. You're just going to create a combative relationship with the production company. This is really about protecting yourself from the misuse of your image without your permission and consent, or informed consent, beyond the scope of the project that you've signed on, because they're making you an offer. really SAG is making the offer. SAG is saying to the production company, "Hey, we have all these background people in our guild, and they will work for $208 for the first 8, and that's our offer." And they're offering it on your behalf. And then your booking agent or your agent central casting is booking you for that amount and you have the understanding that you're showing up to work for that amount. So when you say, "Okay, yeah, I'll go to my fitting," or I'll show up on that day, and you tell your booking agent, when you accept their booking, I have to call in my booking agent and go, "Yeah, okay, got it. I'll be there." And then now I've accepted that offer. If I show up after accepting that offer and I start trying to negotiate, that's just going to cause bad blood. And you're going to have a problem with the production company because you've already agreed to what they're offering or what SAG has offered on your behalf. And then you've been booked based on that offer. So,
Exactly. So
got to do what you agree to.
right. So, but you still have the listing in your record. So everything goes fine. They give you your $200. Nobody says anything. And the slim chance that they find out that you have yourself down as $25,000, are they going to get nervous because now they know that you only were paid 200 by them. You agreed to that, but yet you have something else different written down in the county recorder. I doubt that would come up, but that's my question to you.
I just don't. Well, I mean, okay, let's say, for instance, the producer has friends that work at the county recorder's office, and then the county and they're able to access the different filings, and they want to look up somebody to see, and they find your name in there, and they're like, "Oh, what has this person filed? Oh, look, there's this 28-page security agreement. Oh, look, their image is worth $3 million. Well, and this actually brings up a good point. They might not be willing to book you again for a speaking role or a feature role or a lead role later on down the line because you're beyond their budget. Let's say they're doing a SAG ultra low budget, or they got to keep the budget under $2 million. They might say, "Well, this lady, she filed a security agreement that lists her image worth $3 million, and I don't think she's going to negotiate with it because when she was on set last time, she gave us a hard time and she kept bad mouthing the production company for low wages." So this is really about protecting your image from misuse beyond the production that you've signed up for. It's really not for negotiating your fee. I mean, you can use it for that, but you can use it to negotiate in court how much an abusive production company is going to have to pay you for using your image without your consent in an outside production. So that's really what it's for. This whole idea I started a while ago before this issue. I wrote a book called The Solution, an instruction manual for sovereignty and freedom, which is about how to protect yourself from the state using your name and your birth certificate as a bond for traffic citations or misdemeanor infractions or any commercial crime where there's no injured party. And so when I got into this whole issue with what was going on with the strike and the return to work agreement that was being formulated by SAG and the AMPTP, I started thinking, gee, and then the AI issue came up. I think I started talking to Chuck about it, like, hey, listen, what we need to start doing is, and I started making posts out there, we need to file our biometrics and image and name on the record as our private property, which is what I've already done with a fee schedule, so that if these production companies start misusing our image, in different territories and different productions without our permission that they've gotten from another production, then we have recourse to go and get compensation for the use of our image in those instances. And that's how this whole thing came about. And then Chuck was like, "That's a good idea. let's talk about it. And then we had a meeting about it. And now we're having another meeting about it. And this is really the purpose of this is to control your property beyond the production that you sign on for, whatever you agree to with that production company. And then when you go sue them in court, you bring your agreement with you to put into evidence into that case, so that the judge can use it as evidence. Like, well, here it is, production company. Here they filed this more than a year ago, and you weren't supposed to use their image outside this production, and you did. So looks like you owe them this amount for the use of their name, and then owe them this amount for the use of their image. And so that's the purpose behind this, is to protect us from these production companies that might misuse our image with the AI technology to not have to pay you in the future and continue to use your image in other productions.
Thanks.
Excellent.
I'll let somebody else have a question, but I would like to be looped around to you again after. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Monique, for those questions. I think probably a lot of people probably had similar questions, and thank you, Ron, for addressing that. Is there a form that you can probably share with us, the listening members, the proper form to file this, your biometrics?
Yeah, I have the documents, and I've also sent them to Chuck, the security agreement and the power of attorney. And you can fill them out on, you can have them emailed to you, and then you fill them out on your computer. And then you can sign or autograph the autograph pages, print them out, print out the documents, get them notarized, and then you can either scan them back into your computer and upload them to the clerk of the court's filing portal, or you can in person bring them to the clerk of the court and have them filed onto the record there. So I do have the documents and I can send them. It's just 2 documents. It's the security agreement and then the power of attorney. And then the cover sheet will be provided by the clerk of the courts.
Wonderful.
And my email address, I'll put it in the YouTube recording, but it's real simple. It's just Ronald Russell Farnham at Gmail. And my first, middle, and last name, Ronald Russell Farnham at Gmail, RONALDRUSSELLFARNHAM at gmail.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And if you email me, I'll send you the documents.
Great. I think that's
With the instructions. I have instructions within the email. I've already created the email template and the instructions, and I just copy and paste it right into the email to whatever individual wants them, and then I attach the documents and send them. And then if they have questions, they can always ask, and I check my email regularly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Can you also share with or talk to our members about a little bit about straw man law?
Sure, the straw man. I started touching on that a little bit before. It's pretty basic. It's pretty simple. And I'll go through it from the beginning on how the whole thing gets set up.
Sure.
When you're born, your parents give you a name, and then the hospital asks you for that name, asks your parents, and they create a birth certificate. And on the birth certificate, it lists your parents as the informant, and they inform on you accidentally. They don't realize that they're doing it. They give your name to the vital statistics office, and the vital statistics office creates a birth certificate or a certificate of live birth or a birth bond. And that is printed on bank paper, bank note paper, and is a negotiable instrument that is traded on the bond market and has value. And you become and that name that's on that bond, like for instance, the all capital name Ronald Russell Farnham, on that bond is the straw man. I am the living man. I'm alive. I'm not lost at sea or dead. And I'm above the age of majority and without disability. Those are the things that you want to assert so that you're not considered a ward of the state. And the straw man is that all capitalized name on that bond. And you, the living man, let's say you get a traffic citation and you get hauled off to jail or bailed to jail, because to bail something means to move something from one point to another. Like in court, a bailiff is charged with taking paperwork from the attorneys or the defendant or the plaintiff and transporting it from that person to the judge. They bail. Bail bondsmen are responsible for transporting the surety or the collateral of the straw man from wherever they pick them up to the jail where they're warehoused, as collateral for the straw man. The straw man is your birth certificate and an all capitalized fiction corporation. And you are the living man who, if you don't know how to handle yourself, are the collateral or the surety that's held and transported or bailed and used as a collateral against that birth bond, that someone's going to show up and speak for the straw man, because the straw man can't speak. It's just a corporation. And so let's say you do get a traffic citation and you show up to court. The clerk of the courts is going to take that citation and create another bond out of it off of your birth bond, and they're going to sell it at a discount onto the bond market, and then they're going to assign the judge as the trustee and the prosecutor as the executor, and then you, the living man or woman, is the beneficiary. But when you step through the bar and the judge says, "Oh, Ronald Russell Farnham, go ahead and step to the podium and raise your right hand and state your name." Well, when you do that and you step into the bar and you raise your right hand and state your name, you're switching positions with the prosecutor, and you're becoming the executor, and the prosecutor is becoming the beneficiary. And there are only two responsible parties in this trust that's created: the executor and the trustee. The judge is the trustee, and then you've become the executor. And now you're responsible for paying into that trust, and the prosecutor has become the beneficiary. So the straw man is the name on the birth certificate. You, the living person or living man or woman, because you don't want to say person. You don't want to be a person, individual, resident, citizen, domiciled, or taxpayer. Those are all wards or property of the state under state jurisdiction. You're a living man or a living woman, period. And so I'm not going to try and start getting into how to defend yourself in court, but there's a lot to it because the courts are corrupt. So the straw man is the all capitalized name on the birth certificate, and you, the living man or woman, are the collateral or the surety of that. And if you go and stand up and raise your right hand and take the executor position, then you become the responsible party to pay into the trust that then goes to the prosecutor. So that's how the system is set up. It's a maritime jurisdiction, admiralty jurisdiction. That's why they in any of those courts they fly a gold fringed American flag as a sign that you're under maritime jurisdiction and contract law. It's all contracting under the Uniform Commercial Code, and you have the right to not contract. And you have the right to conditionally accept the contract with a counteroffer. If the judge says, "Well, I talked to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor wants you to spend 30 days in jail and pay $3,000 fine for reckless driving," you can say, "I don't want to do any jail time, and I'll pay $500 in court costs." Now you're just negotiating the terms of the contract, and you don't have to agree to their contract. So But you also have to, I mean, it depends on what state you're in and what county you're in. I'm in Florida, in Brevard County, and this is one of the most corrupt counties as far as court systems goes in the entire United States. And I wouldn't be surprised if Los Angeles County is just as corrupt, if not more, because of what I think is their agenda to just control everyone and take our freedoms away a little bit at a time and operate a racketeering operation against us, which is what is going on. It's a collusion and racketeering operation, and that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. It's collusion and racketeering because the state pays the judge, the prosecutor, and the public defender. So if you've got the state paying the public defender who's supposed to be defending you, then there's a racket going on because there's one entity paying for all three entities in this court case. So how can there be justice and a fair trial? And so that's what the straw man is. Did I answer that enough?
Yes, I hope so. It definitely answer my question. Anyone else?
Maybe I wanted to ask him, you were talking about stating yourself as a gender, and I've known this for a few years, but now with this whole gender identity, you might say that you're neither a man or a woman. So what will people state that there? Like, I feel that you should be able to say you're a person, but for reasons which you stated, you cannot.
Well, you got to look up the definitions in Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, because everybody was raised using Webster's Formal English Dictionary, but the legal and lawful community, lawful is federal law, legal is local statutes and codes of a state. And in the realm of law and even legal and statutes and codes, which is contracting, they define their words using Black's Law Dictionary. They don't use Webster's Formal Dictionary. So the words that you've learned in slang English and formal English have different definitions than the words that you're using, that the attorneys and the judges and the police are using, which they're using lawful English. Like when a cop pulls you over and says, "Look, why aren't you cooperating with me?" Well, what do you think he means by cooperating? In lawful English, it's cooperating. If you syntax it by adding hyphens between vowels or consonants that come together, you'll find out that he wants you to run a business together with him. Hey, listen, we're running this racketeering operation. We want you to be a part of it. Just give me your name so I can create this bond out of it and hold you as surety at the jail for a while, but you'll get out. You can even go to jail if you want. That's a benefit and a privilege of offsetting a debt or a crime or a color of law crime. So if you're going to start using words, but you don't know 100% how they're being defined by the people that are coming at you with contracts, then I would say go online and pull up Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, and start going through words that concern you to find out how they're defining them in their contracts. That's why at the beginning of this conversation, when is it Matt was talking about HR 4 I don't know, 6943 or 9643, about how Americans are protected by a certain AI provision now that they're pushing through the House as a House resolution. Well, they say Americans. Well, how do they define Americans? I'm a Floridian. Actually, I was born in New York. I'm a New Yorkian. Americans, if you look at the difference between the United States of America and the United States is 50 separate sovereign countries, each with their own boundaries, statutes, codes, and laws. The United States of America is a corporation in Washington, the District of Columbia, a district, not a state, and slang for an employee of the US of A corporation is American. I mean, we've been trained that we're all Americans just because we live in the United States, but unless you work for the federal government, then you're not an American. You're a Californian, or Floridian or New Yorkian. So it's important to understand the words that you're using and the words they're using in their contracts. So you can call yourself a man or a woman or other or non-binary or whatever the terms are, but that's just for this. Look, in contract law, every contract is a separate independent contract between those parties. So if you're signing a contract to work on a production and you're listing these things about yourself, you have the right to list it however you want. But if you go into court and you're been hauled in for a traffic citation or some kind of where you've been accused or charged with a crime where there's no injured party, then you want to be careful how you identify yourself. I would always either you want to call yourself either a living man or a living woman, and you go by your first and middle name. I don't say I'm Ronald Russell Farnham. I am Ronald Russell, Ronald Russell. That's my name, all lowercase. That's who I am, of the family Farnham. So that when they put all capital letters Ronald Russell Farnham on their paperwork, I can look at that and go, that's not me. I'm a living man. That's a corporate fiction. And I'm not surety for these proceedings. I'm space lowercase Ronald lowercase Russell. I'm not all capitalized straw man, corporate fiction, Ronald Russell Farnham. That's not me. And I'm not surety or collateral for these proceedings. And tell your bailiffs to keep their hands off me because I'm holding up my birth certificate. This is Ronald Russell Farnham right here. This is it. Not me. So don't touch me. And that's how you can handle that. But all contracts are separate and different. And it's different when you're handling yourself in court than it is when you're negotiating with a production company about how much they're going to pay you for your talent. Hi, Danielle Rose. We are recording this, just to let you know.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any questions about that?
I get it. I do. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My other question is, so this has been jangling around for a bit, and I was listening to a couple interviews today, and you probably know this. For those people that unfortunately were jabbed, apparently there is like a protein that is being made, and that
Like protein.
right, but okay. Apparently, there is God, can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a C was in it. It could be patented by the government. So in other words, there are people now who could be patented because of that protein being made. So my question to you is this going to change anything around unless that situation gets rectified?
Yeah. And that's a very important question, and I have the answer. For Lisa K, my email address is RonaldRussellFarnham@gmail.com. RonaldRussellFarnham@gmail.com. You can email me for the documents. So to answer that question, here's one of the issues that has been coming up with the jabbed, and that is the fact that there has been nanotechnology in the serum, and it creates a MAC address within the jabbed, so that if you pull up, if you go and download the app Wiggle, WIGLE, 1G, WIGLE. In fact, I was just researching this yesterday, so I'm glad you brought it up. It's an app where you can surveil your surrounding area for Bluetooth devices, because the jabbed are showing up as Bluetoothable MAC addresses, and that MAC address has a number. and you can your security agreement at any time. And therefore, let's say you wind up getting forced into getting jabbed, and then your MAC address to your human body shows up on the Wiggle app where you're surveilling your surrounding Bluetooth devices. You can go ahead and list that MAC address in your, this is what I recommend based on this. And I'm just, based on my research yesterday and your question today, list your MAC address into your security agreement. So now you're protecting yourself as a patentable device. And you're like, oh, no. Here, look, US government, here's the MAC address that shows up in me. This is me. This is my location. This is the MAC address. I am me. I control me. I'm a living person, living man. And now if you want to use me and as a tool or a computer or some type of a Bluetooth send and reception device, because I used to work for the Department of Defense, and everything is either capable of sending signals and receiving signals. You're a receiver just as you are as a transmitter. So it's transmit and receive, just like your TV camera. Your cameras on your televisions and computers can transmit just as much as they can receive. You should be able to list. I would list that in there, and then if you find out you're being used by anybody or anything, then you go and go, hey, you're using my MAC address. That's mine. It's my property. I listed it right here in my security agreement. Here's the filing number. You need to go ahead and provide the compensation that it shows right here in my agreement, and we're going to court. Or you bring that up in court. So,
Well,
yeah,
that's
just
just if you were jabbed. If you're not jabbed, we're presuming you don't have a MAC address.
correct. Unless chemtrails are spraying nanoparticles onto us and it's getting into us, going right through the ceiling of our house, getting right into our skin and going right into our body. We don't know that yet. I have not downloaded the Wiggle app and checked myself because I'm not vaxxed. And so I don't know if I've been infected by the vaccine. I'm hoping not, because if you look out in the sky every day, all around across the United States, they're constantly spraying chemical trails. There's a difference between chemical trails and condensation trails. Condensation trails, they might fly out about 50 to 100 feet behind the plane and then they evaporate and disappear. But the chemical trails stay in the sky as a long white line intersecting with other long white lines that they've put in the sky, and then they start expanding and they cover the whole sky, and then 2 or 3 days later it rains. So they're seeding the sky with clouds that are raining down on us a couple of days after they've sprayed. What is raining down on us? I haven't done any collection of the rainwater to see what's coming in, but you'll be hard pressed to find any facility in the United States that will test your water and tell you really what's in it beyond a few different things that they'll tell you. Oh, you got some, sediment and whatever, but they're not going to get into nanoparticles and fluoride and chlorine and borate or whatever, borine, all these different chemicals that they're putting into our faucet water that's coming out of the tap that we're showering in. So, I haven't been vaccinated, but you never know what's coming out of the sky.
Thanks, Ron. I really appreciate that. Yeah, a doctor actually forced a thing up my nose, so I've been concerned about that for 2 years. He didn't do it for COVID, but it doesn't matter. I wrote him up in the medical board, so I'm wondering what's going to happen, but he did
Yeah,
it.
those swabs allegedly are cleaned in hydrogen chloride, some chemical that's a blood-brain barrier penetrator. And if they go too far up into the nasal cavity, it can penetrate into your blood-brain barrier. But hopefully that didn't happen. If you had any side effects,
No, thank God. No.
then you're probably fine. But I don't think they put the nanogel on there. It's just a toxic chemical that they're shoving up into your nose.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about. Sorry, another meeting just came on, so
Yeah, I
It's
hear it.
ethylene oxide. It's ethylene oxide, EO.
Ethylene oxide. That's right. Yeah, that's what they sanitize the swabs in those and then package them and then pull them out, and they still have that ethylene oxide in there when they shove it up into your nasal cavity.
Ron, I gotta go, but just the last thing. You're in Brevard County. That's the first place where, I'm sure you know, their Republican club stated that they were going to recommend to the governor that the injection was a bioweapon, and they did bring that up to him. Do you know that? That was in your local news. Oh yeah, and of
Mm-mm.
course, I'm sure you know now that the Surgeon General of Florida has stated that this should not be on the market in Florida. Do you know that?
No,
Joe,
I
I don't know how you
didn't.
say his last name. Lapito. He's a nice guy, black guy. He graduated from Harvard Medical School. He believes it's a
Mm.
spiritual battle too. Oh yeah. Oh, I'll put it in the chat. You can look a little bit more
Yeah,
about.
please do. I'd like to read that and contact that person
All right.
and interview them and find out why they consider it a bioweapon, because it'd be nice to have a Harvard medical grad discuss why he believes that they've injected people with a bioweapon. And I agree. I think it is a bioweapon. I think there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and from the rhetoric I've been hearing and reading and watching, this year, 2024, around March, could become catastrophic for the entire worldwide population. So, but I don't know. I'm hopeful that it's not. I already have my contingency plans in place, so we'll see what happens.
Cool. Yeah, he called it the Antichrist of all products. I will s- I will put that in the chat. Thank you. Thanks for your
You're
time
welcome.
and wisdom.
And I don't know how many people in here are religious or study the Bible or are Christians. I was raised Catholic in the Catholic Church. I became kind of non-religious in a way and started studying the esoteric nature of reality. And as far as what she just said before she left about it, the bioweapon being the Antichrist. If Christ consciousness is being able to have a clear chakra energy system that leads to a Kundalini experience that opens up your crown chakra to be connected to the all source intelligence, and that's what Christ consciousness is, then I could see how the bioweapon might be something that blocks the crown chakra and our ability to expand our consciousness. And so maybe if Christ consciousness is that, then this bioweapon might be blocking that and wanting to intentionally augment everyone virtually to the metaverse that's coming out soon, if it's not already out. And then you're not connected to the Christ consciousness anymore. Your sentience is in the metaverse, which is finite. So it could be could be the Antichrist, if that's what Christ is and the Antichrist is, but I don't know. I can't really prove that. Anybody have any questions? Anybody here, or is it just me?
Anyone have any questions? So I don't know if you're
Go
aware,
ahead.
but we had a chief executive officer found himself in Davos at the World Economic Forum for SAG, and I wanted to know what your view was on that.
Say that again. The chief financial officer. What happened?
Yeah, we had.
Well, hey, first, Nubia, there was questions in the chat. I also texted you a question that came in. So did you cover all those? I stepped away for a minute.
Forgive me. Oh yeah, we had a question on the chat. I'm not sure if that was addressed, but one person was asking regarding the biometrics. How did they know that that method was going to work? Once they file it, how did they know for sure it was going to work?
Once they file their security agreement, how do they know it's going to work?
Correct.
Well, the process is you file the security agreement and you get the clerk of the court mails you back your original document with a cover sheet on it and a recording number. And that you hold, and you keep that document with that recording number in your private paperwork to use whenever you need to present it to either a judge in court or to a production company, their attorneys, when you're going, hey, you guys are using my image in a commercial in Japan that you never paid me for. You took that image from this TV show in the United States that has nothing to do with that product. I didn't agree to that. Here's my security agreement that lists how much my image is worth. I want you to pay me. And here's a cease and desist on using my image. So now you're serving them the paperwork. You serve them notice, cease and desist, here's why, and a demand letter for payment. And then they have 30 days to respond, or they default, and then you sue them in court. And then they've got to show why they think that they were allowed to use your image without your permission. And you bring that document into court with you and you file it into the record as as evidence. You file it into that court case. So when you're setting up your court case, when you go to court, you're going to probably have an attorney as either your legal counsel, assistance of counsel, or your representative. When you have an attorney that represents you, then you're actually telling the court that you're an imbecile and you can't speak for yourself. So you just want to make sure if you do hire an attorney that you hire one that's really working for you, who's good at contract law, and who is going to be able to get you what your terms are in your security agreement. So
let me just sort of say one thing. I think what a lot of people have to understand is that this is supplemental. This is in a situation where your image, your likeness has been used without your permission. And in those instances, for example, if you were to go to the union and to discuss this, they're going to try to get you, a day's pay for your image being used without your permission. And in this case, you're going civil and you're asking for what you've recorded with the court. And this is an enhancement of that. So just remember, you're starting from a place of this is insurance because you've been wronged. So and it can be in instances, through speaking with Ronald, again, it can be a deterrent for people to illegally use your image, because once you win a case where somebody illegally used your image and they had to pay out some large amount, then no one is going to use your image again without your permission.
What we're doing here is we're setting precedents. And Chuck's exactly right. And this is supplemental. This is protecting us from future abuse. This is going to give us hope. I did this. I'm doing this and putting this out. And by the way, Chuck put the documents in the chat, but I'm doing this because when these agreements ended and they came out with the return to work agreement, everybody was just like, well, whatever. It's hopeless. We got no chance to win this. It's the big studios and the attorneys just screwing us all over. And it felt like the wind came out of our sails. The strike was for nothing. The picketing was for nothing. And we lost hope. So doing this, filing this on the record, if everybody can do it, this gives us a sense of control and a return of hope that we can defend ourselves and protect ourselves from abuse and fraud and misuse of our image and our name. So this is really about the future and giving us hope. And that's why we're doing this, so that we don't feel defeated and hopeless. And hopelessness leads to depression, and depression leads to just not good stuff. Suicide, quitting the industry, giving up. You don't want that. We want to feel like we're empowered and we have hope. And the best way to do it is to just fill this out record it, and keep it. And now in your heart, you know, hey, I'm protected. I hope somebody uses my image without my consent, because now I feel the power and the hope that I can go to an attorney and go, hey, guess what? You want to make some commission on this? We got a major lawsuit against that production company right here based on my security agreement and them misusing my image in some commercial they never even paid me for. I was never even on set for it. So let's do this. And that's the feeling that we're going to get.
And let me point to one thing, because I put this out on some of the emails when I sent out the invite for this. Just I think it was yesterday or today, this article came out about how a voice actor was furious that AI copied his voice for Grand Theft Auto. And this guy is going on Twitter and he's yelling at everybody that they ripped off his voice, and he's mad at the union, he's mad at all the other people. So again, this is empowerment in an instance where something like that happens. And again, I know there's going to be a lot of questions about synthetic performers. There was a question that came in about how do we, fight this on synthetic performers. And this is going to have to be something that we all have to be hyper focused on and wrapping our heads around, because again, in this instance, we're going to have to find a way to prove that you were used for a synthetic performance. That's why for now, the big push is say no to all the scanning right off the bat. If they ever want to scan you, say no, because you do not want to have your image and likeness living on a computer somewhere. I don't care what they tell you that it disappears or that they're going to scrap it in a month or something. Don't believe any of that. Say no. So, and we just have to figure out how to ensure that we can scrape the internet and ensure, maybe it's quantum computing. Who knows how it's going to go down, but there's got to be some way to protect our image and likeness from these computer generative AI models, from, biometric data being taken away or whatever, because every other week you hear about a lawsuit on data breaches. So to say that somehow our image and likeness is going to be secure on an employer's computer, it is like, just look around at 23andMe, at the Sony hack. Look at any of those. It's not going to be as secure as they're trying to make you feel assured that it will be.
Yeah, in fact, I recommend, now that we're talking about voice, is to, when you're filling out your security agreement and you say, oh, my image, and then parentheses, exhibit A. In fact, I should update some of the instructions so that it's more tailored to talent. Exhibit A. And then at the back of the agreement, you have a page that says Exhibit A. And then right behind that page is your image. And then if you have, your hands. Hey, I'm a hand model. They're using my hand model in another commercial. I know that's my hand. And then you take a picture of your hands and you list them as Exhibit B. And then you upload your voice, a recording of your voice, say the alphabet, A, B, C, D, whatever, record that, upload it as part of your exhibit and make it Exhibit C, your voice pattern. And so everything that is tangible, like get a DNA test, get your DNA, go to a place that'll do a DNA test. They'll take your blood, they'll do your DNA test, or they'll do a cheek swab and take your picture, and they'll give you your DNA test back. You'll get it in the mail, and now you can put that in your security agreement as you, the living man or woman, now, and this is proof that I, the living man, Exhibit A or Exhibit D, DNA test, boom, you attach it to it, so that all of these different things that can be used by a production company without your consent, such as your voice and your image and your hands and your feet, whatever you can think of, you want to list them as exhibits in your document. And it's very simple. Whenever you list it in your agreement, my name, Ronald Russell Farnham, parentheses, Exhibit A, or my image, my picture of Ronald Russell Farnham, the living man, parentheses, Exhibit A. And then at the back of the document, you have a page that says Exhibit A. And then the second page of that is your picture. And, you might want to be updating that all the time, once a year, whenever you get new headshots or as you significantly change in appearance. That way, there's no argument to it. So you got to keep on top of it, just like you would keep on top of your headshots, so that when you walk in, the casting director looks at you, looks at your headshot, and goes, okay, this person's knows what they look like. They're not just, using a 10-year-old headshot and they don't look like that anymore. So you want to keep that updated. And I type my email address in the chat, and I'm going to make notes here about exhibits. So I'm going to go back to chat and make notes about how to do the exhibits.
And I add you, put your
On
email
that
in.
note, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking, since it's in that way and would be fighting a corporation, and they would be licensing yours or they would be violating it, I'm thinking the route that I might consider going is that my corporation owns it. So that way it's under, when we do those testings and all of that, put it as a copyright under my corporation.
Yeah, if you open up a corporation,
Or just a company, whether it's LLC or otherwise.
yeah, and then you're going to list the functioning of your company and the assets, and that's basically a trust.
Right, as
You know,
an asset. Yeah. So maybe a trust is better.
Yeah, a revocable trust. I would say research the difference between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust, but it's my understanding that this security agreement does form a trust. I got to let my dog
I'm
out.
thinking of that, especially considering future perpetuity.
Yeah, in perpetuity throughout the universe with relative to new or yet invented technology too. There you go, girl. I'm gonna leave the door open.
Because I'm now thinking the voice print can be protected the way a song is protected with voice.
Yeah,
Because that's what I'm
exactly. You
thinking
could
now.
upload it to the Library of Congress too.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I think that route, all of us in this group should consider that. Let's start with what we can do, which usually they want our image and they want our voice. And so if we protect it, then, we can do that. So that's
And now with
Hey,
this
this is
scanning machine that
Debbie.
they're using, they really want our whole body. They want everything. They
Yep.
want it all.
Hey, this
I think we can
This
do
is
it in
Debbie.
parts and then
I'm on the phone.
sorry. Hello?
Hi,
This is
Debbie.
Debbie. I'm on the phone.
Okay.
Hi. I just wanted to mention real quick. I have history of turning things over to SAG for claims, and when it goes to SAG legal, a lot of times they'll settle for 10 cents on the dollar of what you're supposed to get. So I always say it's the kiss of death to have claims department turn things over to legal. So this makes a lot of sense too, because you're going to be able to get what you're worth, and also you build in the penalties that are not there for them stealing your footage or your voice print or whatever.
Yeah. And when you're making that claim, it's just another contracting offer. So you got to definitely put into your claim when you're filing it that you want no less than this amount, and you're not going to settle for that. And that's good information. You're not going to settle for 10 cents on the dollar. That it's non-negotiable.
Yeah, or a lot of times they won't even fight it because they're afraid they'll lose in arbitration.
Yeah. And
it's crazy what goes on there.
Exactly. You're better off going to court. And if they're trying to lowball you, just say, no, I'm not, we're not doing this. You're either paying me what I'm owed, or you're going to get adjudicated by a judge to pay. So you can do it now, or you can spend money on legal fees, but we're either going to court or you're paying what you owe me. Well, we're not going to,
Mhm.
okay,
And
see you in court.
it's not
Just pay
all,
what you owe me, and I'm out of here. Yep.
and it's not only what they owe you for use, they also owe you for violating your right to
That's right.
accept.
For stealing it, for trying to steal it and get away with it.
Yeah, and that should be capital fraud, grand larceny.
Yes, and it's
So not
and
just civil
and
charges, but
SAG will
criminal
not
charges.
go after SAG will not go after treble damages. We used to have treble damages. So if they stole something and they got caught, they would have to pay triple the amount. That went away, at least for us stunt performers. I believe it went away for most, if not everybody. And that is wrong, because they don't have any penalty at all if they get caught.
Well, it's funny that the case that we have right now is grand theft auto.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's
Yeah.
funny.
So just FYI, that's how it works internally over at SAG.
Look, I think if enough people start doing this, filing these documents, that it's going to come out in the news. The word is going to spread, and I would say we should have some representatives of SAG notify the local courts in the major filming counties what has been done, and that we want to know that we've got the backing of the state when we start filing criminal charges against the producers for grand theft and felony charges, and that way they're put on notice. We can also send notices to the different production companies as individuals. Once you filed your paperwork, you can email all the major studios and mini majors and whatever studios, and just let send it to the acquisitions department or their legal department and say, hi, I'm SAG-AFTRA. Here's my ID number. This is my name. Just want to let you know I have filed my biometrics, my image, my likeness, my voice, my name onto the record as my private property for this much, just, standard form letter. And if it is misused, I've also sent this to the district attorney of Los Angeles County, that if you steal my biometrics or my property without my permission, that I want to file grand theft felony charges, against your production company. I'm not threatening you. This is not a threat. I'm just giving you, due and timely notice and fair warning that this is the situation. I'm sure you've received this letter from other talent, because we're doing the same thing, especially after this return to work agreement, or however you want to word it. But once we all start doing this, we should put the producer, the AMPTP, and the district attorneys on notice that we've now taken an aggressive or an offensive or a protective stance for ourselves from these producers, because we can't trust any of them. For years now, it's been coming out for years now, that they're just distasteful, corrupt, psychotic sociopaths. I mean, look what the Me Too movement revealed that's going on in Hollywood. And I'm sure it doesn't just stop with pedophilia and rape, that it also is about stealing from us as much as they can and paying us as little as they can, so that they can profit and get all that they want without giving us fair compensation or even justice for any physical abuse that they've done to people, which is a lot. So I don't trust any of them, and they all need to be noticed.
I'm actually thinking, we have to think strategy here, and that's one option, but I think the other option, well, two other options. One is to say nothing and have it protected and then gradually as they start using, then they get, retaliation for it. Or if we approach it, do it in a way that does not create that thing where we'll be saying, listen, I have already gone ahead and I don't mind participating in this because but I will license my property if it's available for use at a fee, and we can negotiate so that they know it's available if you choose to do that. And so that way, because if we do it the way that you're saying, I can see blatant discrimination because most of us are not A-listers where they really want us. It's not Tom Cruise. So the retaliation. So I think we have to think carefully how we approach that part.
Well, there's power in numbers.
That's it.
So the goal here is first to get as many SAG members across the world or the United States to file their paperwork. And then as we need to, I mean, I don't think there's going to be retribution if we just put them on notice. I think once people start filing, that word is going to spread. This is going to become news. And then based on it going public, the producers and the attorneys and the district attorneys are going to know what's going on, and we will have put ourselves in a good leveraged, we'll be in a position of power instead of a disadvantage without any way to protect ourselves. So it's going to come down to the individual, whether they want to reach out to the AMPTP and SAG and the local district attorney to let them know that they've, secured their property, that you're a secure party, and that you, want them to know that if you get violated, you want criminal charges of grand theft and whatever charges apply, charged against those perpetrators. So it's up to you whether you're going to want to send out notice. For me
But we need to
personally,
make sure we have the numbers to be able to do it en masse. When we start it, it has to be a huge group to do it simultaneously.
yes,
And then it would be either sending it to SAG and copying them, or sending it to them and copying SAG, or sending it to both to say, hey, SAG, here's my information for the database. So that way you can do your job and monitor the use of my stuff.
exactly. So you want to be able to just put yourself in a position of power. But I think, yeah, you're right. We all need to, we first need a big group of people. We need a lot of numbers first, and then maybe get together as a group and inform everyone.
But I also think, Stebby, I also think that because they did leave the door open in AI and all that, it's the only way we have to really protect ourselves. We don't have the union to protect us. In the past, we've had the union to protect us, but we don't now. So we have a valid reason for doing this.
Yep, I agree. They just showed us that they're not willing to really protect us.
That's correct.
And I also think that, I think I might have mentioned this last time that we all spoke, is that the metaverse is going to become a reality where people are able to augment their neural pathways or their brain to the metaverse and go in there and live in a virtual reality world, as long as they want. And whoever's operating the metaverse and in control of that, I would not be surprised if they are taking our scanned images from productions and building avatars in the metaverse as just the life extras that are, in the metaverse, whether real people, real avatars for people who are in there, or just NPCs, non-playable characters in the metaverse. So I think something needs to be done to address the metaverse with this also. And I think it's something to consider for the future, because you won't know if your image is being used in the metaverse unless you actually go in there and see it and can prove it. So that's also something else to
Yeah, it
consider.
will be all on proof. And FYI, Duncan, a few months before the strike, was in Las Vegas with a group of union buddies having fun and promoting the metaverse. I have the information on that. I screenshot it and have it that they were doing that. They were all into it and excited about it.
I think that's why everyone really needs to start really reading the fine print on any contract that you sign with a production. Go through it, look for certain keywords, carefully scrutinize it while you're filling it out. I mean, I know you get to set at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's still dark. You just want to sign in, and you got to get to wardrobe and makeup and stuff. And you just want to fill out your voucher paperwork and whatever the contract is quickly. But I really think that it is important to start carefully reading the contract that you're signing with that production company, and check the wording to make sure that you're not waving your image away outside of that production or into the metaverse, or both. And then it's up to you whether you like the contract or not, whether to agree to it or change the wording in the contract, maybe cross out metaverse and say, you know what, I'm good with all this, but I'm just here for a Nike commercial. I crossed out metaverse in this contract. I'm not willing to let you use my image in the metaverse or in another kind of commercial for another product. So go through the contract, and when you see something you really don't agree with and that you're not getting compensated for, line through it, because
Now
you
it's
have the
all
right.
online. Matthew, I want to let you know now, almost everything is online. We don't get paperwork anymore. Although there's one thing I noticed for a job I have coming, this time they did not even give me the option of how do I get paid. I could not even choose to mail me my check, so I did not fill out that part, and I will take it up with them tomorrow when I get on set. But they're pushing that agenda kind of like into it, because they were giving you option before how you want to get your check. So we have to be careful about that too, but we have to agree to do it together, so that way it's not just Imoya not wanting it.
Yeah, be careful to everything that you're agreeing to. That's all. And then if they violate that contract, I would say create a folder on your computer where you can download all of your contracts or scan them all in, so that you can use them as evidence anytime. I mean, there are a lot of things that we have to be responsible for, and that is, controlling the data and information that we need to use as evidence in potential court cases. So I do recommend creating a folder on your computer or in your phone where you can download the contracts that you're agreeing to, so that you have them in case you need them in court. That way you have the original contract, because, production company might show up with a different contract, and that they changed just for court, and not thinking that you will show up or still even have your contract. And if they show up with their contract that says one thing that you agreed to, and you don't have yours to show, well, wait a second, that's not how it was worded when I signed it. So protect yourself by keeping all of your data in a good filing system. That's what I do. Just make sure you have an accurate filing system, and you can get to things, and you protect yourself as much as possible.
That's great information. Thanks, guys.
I'm checking the chats. I just put the name of that app for anyone who wants to check if they have been jabbed and their body is emitting a Bluetooth signal. Because word is that all those who received the jab have been converted into Bluetooth MAC addresses that can be a transmitter or receiver. So, you know, you can check that with the Wiggle app. From what I understand, I was studying some info on it yesterday.
Anything on people who were tested? Because I did do testing.
What COVID testing?
Yes. Yes.
All I know is with the COVID tests, the major issue was the swab that contains the ethylene oxide on it that can permeate the blood-brain barrier and cause issues. And there was a rumor, or I guess a theory, that on those nasal swabs was a nanogel that contained things that could get into you, that could go into your body and be in there doing whatever the technology is meant to do. So I don't know if everybody who got tested had something enter them and is now in their body. I don't know that for sure. But if you've been tested only and not vaccinated, you might want to check the Wiggle app, WIGLE. And it's my understanding that that app will read your immediate surroundings for Bluetooth MAC addresses. And if it's an unidentifiable device, then chances are it's a vaccinated human. Let's see who all's left here. We got a lot of people in here, or several. Any more questions? I'm checking the chats again. What is the app called? Lisa K left. When listing your picture or voice, okay, that's what I put. Make sure you're putting your voice and picture as exhibits, exhibit A, B, C, D. I put that in the chats. I see Monique sent me the information about the vaccine that a Brevard County person claimed is a bioweapon, a legislator. Let's see. Yep, we're trying to set precedents here. Chuck listed the documents and the instructions in the chats. So if anybody needs those documents, they're right there to download the power of attorney and the security agreement.
And I also
go ahead.
I also added your email on the chat for everyone else.
Yeah, I did. I put my email address in there, but I'll put it again. But it's in there, Ronald Russell Farnham at Gmail. I'll list it again here. I'll just copy and paste it. Copy. Oops. All right, so my email address is in there. Anybody has an issue or a question, just email me and I will answer your emails. Let me think of anything else I can think of. One of the things, again, to remember is the words that you're reading in the contracts. I'm going to put this in chat. Make sure you know what those words mean in lawful English. And instead of using Webster's Dictionary, use Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition. So Black's Law Dictionary. I'm putting that down in here. Black's Law Dictionary. because there's a big difference between formal English and legal English dictionary. This is what they're using, Black's Law Dictionary, when they're defining these words in their agreements for the agreement wording. Because it's notorious that attorneys use words of art or words of trickery. They make you think they're saying one thing when they're really saying something else. Because they are racketeers. Go ahead.
I have a question. When you define yourself, can you define yourself as a sovereign being?
Yeah,
I
a
know you
sovereign, not a sovereign, not a sovereign citizen. Sovereign. Sovereign citizen is an, and I made a video about this. I'll post the video. Sovereign citizen is an oxymoron invented by the Fraternal Order of Police in an effort to confuse people. Because a sovereign, by the nature of sovereignty, is not a citizen. And a citizen, by the nature of being a citizen, is not sovereign. Citizens are not sovereign. They fall under the jurisdiction of the state. If you injure somebody or cause harm to somebody, yeah, you need to be responsible for your actions. But as a sovereign, you don't fall under the jurisdiction of the state for contract law, where they're trying to press charges and contracts against you without you being a willing participant. You know, a contract has to be equitable to both sides. And I was posting this in a lot of the chat rooms during the work agreement negotiations and during the strike that, you know, we need to have a fair and equitable agreement that we're coming to, which we didn't. You know, a contract has to be fair to both sides. And so you want to call yourself a sovereign instead of a person, individual, resident, citizen, domiciled, or taxpayer. Those are all state jurisdiction titles that give the state jurisdiction over you, and they just make you think that, oh, you're a person, or the individual, sir, the individual over here. So when you're in court, the prosecutor might say, well, the individual was doing this, that. They're not talking to you standing at the podium. They're talking to the corporate fiction, the straw man. And so never call yourself a sovereign citizen. Just call yourself either a living man or a living woman or a sovereign, or by your lowercase name, your given first and middle name, if you have a middle name, and use colon, space, lowercase Ronald. And if you have a middle name, dash Russell, or whatever your name is, all lowercase with dashes and a colon. Colon means for the. And so when your name appears on their paperwork, they're going to be putting it, your full middle, first, and last name in all capital letters. And that is not you, the living being. That is a corporate straw man, a fiction that they're pressing charges against and making you collateral or surety for that straw man. So just call yourself by your given name using lowercase, and that you are not dead, missing, lost at sea, a ward of the state, or below majority age, that you are actually a living woman who has reached the age of majority and is living on the land, and not a ward of the state, and you're without disability. Because otherwise the state is going to make presumptions about you and presume, unless you rebut it, that you are dead, lost at sea, missing, a ward of the state, and below the age of majority. And your birth certificate matures on your 18th birthday. So there's a lot to do with the number 18. And then Social Security starts paying out when you turn 62 or 65. So by the time your birth certificate matures as a bond on the bond market, from that point, the state kind of wants you to die so that they don't have to pay you Social Security, and they can cash out your birth bond. And it goes as abandoned property to the state. Really already belongs to the state. So you know, control your assets, control your name, control your words, and know the words that you're using, what they really mean in lawful English.
Can you say sovereign living woman?
Yep. Yep. Sovereign living man, sovereign living woman. Yeah, that's what I say. And the beneficiary of the Ronald Russell Farnham Trust, all capital letters. So when I sign my name or autograph it on documents, I put colon space lowercase Ronald dash lowercase Russell, comma, the beneficiary, a living man, comma, and the beneficiary of the Ronald Russell Farnham Trust. Ronald Russell Farnham in all capital letters, trust in lowercase, so that there's no mistake what my intention is. Here I am, a living man. There's this straw man out there, the Ronald Russell Farnham birth bond, a trust, and I am the beneficiary of that. So I'm not going to step into a courtroom and switch positions with the prosecutor by raising my right hand and saying I'm Ronald Russell Farnham. In fact, last time I went to court, one of the times I went to court, twice, I've made the judge flee the courtroom because I wouldn't change positions. They were like, well, state your name. And I said, colon space Ronald dash Russell. And they were like, you're not Ronald Farnham? I said, there's a lot of Ronald Farnhams out there. I'm the beneficiary of the Ronald Russell Farnham Trust. And the judge said, Ronald Farnham, Ronald Farnham, Ronald Farnham, Ronald Farnham has failed to appear. Boom. She gavelled and fled the courtroom. And then when they tried to arrest me because they were trying to figure out who I was, and there was a big fiasco taking place, she just said, I'm rescinding the arrest warrant. You're free to go. We'll figure this out at another time. Because they're playing a game with words of art, and they're trying to sucker people into unconscionable, lopsided, inequitable contracts. And I'm putting out the information to help people not get taken advantage of by the state. But there's a lot of people out there, and the courts are taking advantage of dozens, hundreds, thousands of people every single day across the United States, tricking them using words of art and word trickery to sucker them into unconscionable one-sided contracts that's clearly fraud. But they have police power. They got attorneys on their side. It's all a big racketeering operation. So the best thing we can do right now is start by filling out the documents, filing them on the record, and then coalescing as one large body saying, hey, we're not going to take this anymore. We've all filed our documents. You can't abuse us. If you use my property without my permission, I'm going to sue you. And we might even wind up being able to have a class action lawsuit against the metaverse when the time comes. So we might get there. You never know. Anything else? It's 2 minutes till 11 p.m. Eastern.
Well, thank you so much for all this information. It's been very helpful. Anyone else have any question? Ron, I really appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for all this great information. If you guys haven't go into the chat, I know you shared, Chuck also shared information about how you can go ahead and file. You have his email. You can always follow up, but this is a great opportunity for us to all, have a way of protecting ourselves. And we should share this with as many SAG-AFTRA members as possible. A lot of people are concerned, and this is actually a great opportunity for us to, really protect our biometrics and protect ourselves. So I can't thank you enough for being here and being so informative. And thank you all for, asking some great questions, because I'm sure others may have actually had similar questions. And thank you so much. Anyone else have any comments or any questions for Ronald?
I have one more comment. We need to get all of the SAG locals to disseminate the paperwork to all of the SAG members, so that they just receive an email and goes, hey, listen, if you want to help protect yourself against AI, it's recommended that you file all of your property on the record in the security agreement and power of attorney. If all of the locals could do that, then it gets out to over 100,000 members, and then we have some kind of major movement going on. But you know, how many people showed up to this? We need more participation and more knowledge going out to the people. So I think we need to organize through email, me, you, Chuck, and we need to figure out about how we're going to contact every SAG local office and then have them send out the paperwork to their local members. My dog wants to go out. You want to go out?
Maybe we can create a video, like a short video saying exactly the steps.
Yeah, well, I did that, but I mean, we need to be able to have the SAG locals email all of the documents, those 2 documents, to every member of their local. You know, you got New York, LA, Texas, Maryland, DC, Atlanta. I mean, the Midwest, you know, Ohio, Hawaii, Pennsylvania, just all the different locals. Their local leadership should send out an email, mass email, to all of their local members with the paperwork saying, hey, here you go, do this, protect yourself.
Yes, agreed. But also with a short video, because it's legal stuff, some people, like how we have access to you, they would not have had that. So if we have like a short thing, that would help, I think.
And I did. I made a video. I can post it, but I can post it in the chat here. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. I made a video about how to do this. Let me pull it up and post the video in here. It's a Rumble video, or is it YouTube? It's a YouTube video. All right, let me pull it up on YouTube real quick and I'll paste it into here. Oh, we're still recording, I think. I'll send you the video. So
Okay.
anyway, I think that's about it, but we got to talk about that offline or something. We need to, that is the major thing that's going to be a tipping point for us to make a huge movement by getting every local to send out the paperwork to all of the local talent for each SAG office. For real. That's what we have to do. That's got to be done. That we have to push for that. I'll talk to Chuck about it too. See what he says, how we can do this.
Okay, sounds good. I think that's a great idea.
All right.
Really.
I
totally agree. I think that's the most effective way.
Yeah. So, all right. That's all I've got.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you so much for all the information you shared with us, Ronald.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime. I enjoy doing this. This is important. Important work for the future.
Excellent. Totally agree. Thank you again.
All right. Bye-bye, you guys. Take care.
Good night.
Bye, thank you.